Hello, everyone, and welcome to Canadians with Disabilities and Their Allies. My name is Brent Frain. I'm the host. The show is also known as PWD Allies Podcast. Check it out on your favorite app. There's lots of apps to choose from, so just make your choice of which one's best for you. Today, I'm going to be talking about luxury items and expenses and just the overall view of today's world and, the way the economy is really, and getting the most bang for the buck. And I've always believed that since I was a kid, is always getting the most bang for your dollar, because as the cost of everything keeps going up, you have to get the most value for your dollar. And can you really afford luxury items or different expenses that come up in life? Do you have to cut corners in order to save, in order to achieve what you want? So that's kind of a ballpark scenario of what we're going to be talking about today. And sometimes, they have to sacrifice things for enjoyment life. But really, I mean, does it really come down to having to sacrifice? Like, well, why do people have to sacrifice in order to have the enjoyment? There's lots of viewpoints of what people have to do in life in order to do that. There's discussions, and we've had lots of discussions on our podcast of different variations of different forms of basic incomes over time since the show launched way back when. It seems like centuries ago. It just seems that way, doesn't it, Neil? But yeah. It does. We talked about different variations of basic income, having experts on their viewpoints on it. The social programs are just so irrelevant now. Like, they're just so archaic, and like, we'll give, here's an increase one year, skip a year, another increase. And I think that amalgamizing all these programs into one flat amount and give it to people based on just on their taxation, like when they file their income tax through Revenue Canada, and it's all administrated, but some people may say, well, don't go through Revenue Canada. That's just one viewpoint, but I'm not the expert. Listening to all different ideas on things, I think going forward, having the disability community join as one of all these different ideas, throwing it all in and really coming up with different ideas and solutions, and listen to lived experience stories.
Yeah, and one of the things I wanted to touch on this episode, this was going to be a little bit of a strange topic, I did also a bit of a strange thumbnail as well. Some people are going to look at the thumbnail and go, what's that about? But I titled the thumbnail "Love Me Not, Disability and Well-Being." And the reason I came up with that thumbnail is, sometimes, like, as a person with this disability, we always have to think, well, maybe we're not worthy or we're not deserving, right? Because we already have provincial policy that says we're not really deserving. We're only deserving of legislated poverty, right? And that kind of rubs off. And so this whole idea of love me not, that we're not really allowed to love ourselves or look after ourselves, or treat ourselves to like a latte or a train trip in your case, or like if Alun was here, him and I, like I said, we geek out about cameras all the time, and somebody could push back and say, well, Neil, you shouldn't be spending money on cameras, or Ellen, you shouldn't be spending money on camera and lenses. Like, what are you doing? You only deserve your poverty, right? And again, the reason why we're doing this show is that you've had some pushback on your train trip, and all of those videos that I put out. There's been a few people that have pushed back and said, like, how dare you, Brent? How dare you be able to afford this? Like, you should be just wallowing in your own poverty and be happy with that. You know, and we really need to be talking about, like, well-being is important, right? I mean, it's not, like, I've always said, like, a disabled life doesn't suck. And I'm sure Patrick will say the same thing. Like, a disabled life doesn't suck. Like, we can all say that, right? But, you know, it bugs me that we have people on Twitter and online that think that a disabled life should suck, and they kind of stand as judge and jury and say, you know what, Brent, I don't think you deserve that train trip, so I'm going to push back and say, you know, how dare you? You know, it's just not right, I don't think.
Neil, I think there is a fine line though between, you know, living extravagantly and living reasonably. You know, like, a train trip, who cares? If you save up for 2 years and you get to fly to Cuba for a week, you know, like, that's an affordable holiday from this part of the country. You can go to Cuba. You know, it used to be for $1,000. You could go for a week. It probably a little more expensive now by double, but anyways, you know, if you save up, you could do that. I think there is justified anger sometimes when people seem to be milking the system. Like, there was a story here years ago. I don't know if it made it out west, but there was a lady who was followed by an investigative reporter. She was called the Shaky Lady in Toronto, and she was begging for whatever for years and years. And one day, an investigative reporter followed her home. She got in a Mercedes and drove home. Oh, wow. You know, but she was acting like she had Parkinson's, and she was getting a fairly decent living off of it. And I mean, so there are cases where people are kind of unreasonable, and you hear about
panhandlers too. That
but it's a different thing. I realize it's just, you know, if you're working your ass off and you're still barely treading water, like, you got 2 kids and, you know, 2.5 car garage or whatever, you know, like, you're trying to live the best you can with an average income of, what is it here in Canada, about $60,000 a year, which sure as hell doesn't go very far with 6% mortgage interest rate and all the other stuff that's happened with groceries. So I get the upset, but at the same time, you know, we're entitled to live too, and you know, we didn't sign up to be monks, so no. You know. Well, although monks probably live better, to be honest.
And before we launched the show, we were doing a comparison contrast. I mean, I know that the ODSP is a bit lower than here in BC, but
cost of living's a little lower here too, though. You know, fairly.
Sure.
To be fair.
But like, you know, Brent and I both are only getting like $18,000 a year maximum.
Almost. Yeah.
18,000.
I'm 16 maximum.
Yeah, so it's $18,000 a year here in BC maximum, and I should be getting a bit more, but I actually get a little bit less than Brent because I get all the clawbacks.
We now have the option here to earn $1,000 a month without clawback.
Okay.
In addition, so, you know, that's reasonable, but try and find something, you know, like, it's hard to find part-time, especially if you've got a big gap in your resume. You know, it makes it look like you're flaky and unreliable. So, you know.
Yeah, and, you know, that's when, like a lot of people would say, well, how could you afford that, Brent? I mean, how could you and Sonia afford to go on a train trip? And I mean, I used to see all of these comments, and I didn't, when I was away, I tuned everything out. On social media, there was the odd time, I must admit, the odd time I would look at it just to kind of see, but then I wouldn't get hardly any data anyway with the coverage where I was. So it was kind of hit and miss when I was submitting up a lot of the video content. And so when I was online, so I think, okay, let's just see what was going on with, because we have an election coming up this year. And so I was more interested to see what was going on with the polls, this and that. And I don't always believe everything with the polls because, and when it comes down to voting time, people make that decision when it comes, right? So I was looking at that and I had all these notifications popping up, and I was on Twitter. I was like, what is going on here? It's like, well, I really hope that you're enjoying a trip on on the dime here while we're all suffering. And I'm thinking, okay, like, so I guess with what I'm going to say right now is people would probably wonder, okay, well, how could you afford that? And I wasn't really going to talk a lot about this on the show, which I'm not, but I'm going to give an overview. Tax credits, GSTs, birthday money, saving up pop cans. Yes, pop cans. Going to the recycle, taking them in, getting the money for it. Yeah. Get other neighbors donating pop cans too, so I'd save them up, and stuff like that. Just different, like say different tax credits that we get. You file your income tax. Well, I got that too. Money off of income. Each month, not much left over, but you manage to get the most value for your dollar on your internet plans the best way you can. You kind of haggle with the providers and say, well, can you give me a better deal? So you're able to save money from here. So all these angles that Sonia and I have been saving up for over years and years and years, like that we were just talking about, we were able to accomplish this. And yes, I mean, there was some debts that obviously most people, when they go on a trip, they have to still pay back. Right. So I have to pay back some debts too. I mean, so it wasn't all just money that we had to, get by saving up. We were able to accomplish this and get a good deal, especially through the CNIB too. I must thank them so much on this because of my eye condition. I do have the United card that people do have, and so. Having a companion, especially with the train moving back and forth, you need a little bit of help so that because you can get disoriented pretty quick. But I did well on it, considering I had to try to keep my balance going best way I could on it. And the conductors helping me on and off the train. Watch your step here and there, and because of peripheral perception, it can kind of throw you off. And so I was actually happy on that. And they knew that if I needed help, I would ask. And if I didn't need help, then they were fine too. And because they knew Sonia was there anyway to help me. So that's a privilege that I got. And because people say, well, how could you afford the Via Rail? That's expensive. It is expensive. And I must say, yes, it is. But because of my past, I was able to get a really good deal and other discounts.
You were able to cash in on some rebates. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I mean, also, I'm a BCA member too, so I also got another discount upon the discount. So it was like, yeah, this works. And I went off season too. I mean, there was no way, even peak season, I could never afford to, even if I was had an MLA salary. I mean, they could maybe afford to do it, but I'm sure they would even feel the pinch because some of those rates, some of those rooms that you guys, I've been watching this, some of those rooms can go up to $10,000. Yeah, imagine that.
Brent, do you think there's a line though between reasonable luxury and people on our salary shouldn't be having it? You know what I mean? Like, is there a line?
A line is basically what a person makes though. Like, I mean, of how they perceive it. Like luxury, I would say it is, to me, the deal that I got on the Via Rail, that was to me, that was luxury. To some people, and it was inexpensive, but to some people, oh my God, how'd you get it that cheap? Because that's or some people say, well, that's expensive. To some people say, well, $10,000, that's cheap. That's chunk change to me.
To me, a latte is expensive because I make coffee at home.
Yeah, I mean that is a luxury for me too. But let's I'll turn the tables to me now, you know, and like I know there's lots of people out there too that say, you know, because I actually own my condo, like I'm still paying it off. Of course, I have a mortgage on it, and people are like, well, how could you possibly afford to afford a condo? Like how could you afford? And the fact of the matter is I used to work, and my first wife worked a lot, and we both worked a lot, and we both had really good jobs, really good paying jobs, and that is how was a combined
you saved your money.
with a combined income of having very good salaried jobs, we were able to you know, buy this place. But now that, you know, my disability has caught up to me now, and I was always kind of wondering, like, when is it going to happen? When is the shoe going to drop? And it's dropped for the last 5 years now. So like, well, actually, you know, since my son was born, which was about 15 years ago now, like that's when we started to downsize. I mean, I was still working. I was still working then, but we started to downsize and earn less and stay at home more because it just, you know, it became harder and harder to juggle being a parent and, you know, work. So we scaled things back, and, you know, it's gotten to the point now that my body just cannot work, because there again, a lot of people don't realize, and I've said this before too, but a lot of people don't realize that when, like, again, speaking for myself, like I worked a good 20 years, and when you have 20 years of wear and tear on a body that has cerebral palsy, that is a lot of wear and tear miles on your body. Let me tell you, like running after buses, like my body got run down big time, and now that as soon as I hit right at about 50 years old, and I'm 56 now, that was when the wheels came off and said, you know what, your body is gonna sort of start to self-destruct now, and too bad, you know. But I was able to push my body like pretty good right till about 50, and then all of a sudden, that's it. I reached my best before date then, right?
Well, that's what happened to me too, is repetitious work over many years, doing the same thing, and then branched off trying to do other type of work, but it ended up being the same repetitious, and it just did a toll on my back. You know, and I thought, no, you know, hey, I can do this. Hey, put your mind to it. People say, put your mind to it, Brent. You can do anything. Well, I was in that mindset, and I kept pushing myself more and more and more, and it was a point. Then all of a sudden, I guess I have to stop. And yeah, like hearing from doctors, like 3 different doctors telling me, like, you need to now look at what else you need to do in life and chapter your energy and your interests. And that's why I'm here, like advocating on doing the podcast. Do I get paid for it? No, Neil doesn't get paid for it either. And my administration, Birdie, she doesn't get paid for it either. I wish that I had a lot where I was able to, to help keep everything going.
And in fact, I spend about $400 in software to support the channel. Every year it's about $400 in software, just in software alone, not talking hardware, but just software alone is $400 with two programs, the Zoom, and I also have the video editing software. So they're $200 each for a license for a year, and then I also
that adds up.
And then I also support my web page. It's another $200 for the year, so that's $600, and so that's $600 out of my own pocket that I
did they give you access to something here in Ontario? They call it employment startup benefit. It's basically
they don't have
once
anything
a year,
like that.
It's $500 you can access once a year here to help self-employment, but you have to register a company for it, or like to buy shoes and stuff if you're going to work. You know, right. Like safety boots and that sort of thing.
Well, unless they change it, I don't think they have.
It might be worth looking into. I
Yeah.
mean, if you could get access to something.
Mm-hmm.
I told you guys last time. What's that?
We did do some looking around, and when I looked in, I guess it's 2023 or was it 2022? I mean, the years blur at this point.
Yeah.
But there was certain thresholds that weren't met quite, and that's a great reminder to go back and poke at things.
Yeah, we can poke at things again.
Yeah, definitely is something to kind of explore. Because I remember walking into our ministry's office way back when I worked for a big Crown corporation at the time, and I needed work boots because I was doing a lot of work outside. Boy, remember those days. But and I needed work boots, and for some reason they were getting damaged over time, and so I needed to get them replaced. And the ministry, same thing. I needed shoes for inside, so I had to keep swapping work and shoes inside. And I'd wear through shoes so fast, like I'd be going through shoes like big time fast. It's just because the way that I walk and I wear through shoes. Curved inside, so I was wearing through fast. So the ministry says to me, "Oh, well, it's not our responsibility to make sure they keep you in footwear, right? You need to." The one lady says, "You maybe need to learn to walk better." And I go, "Excuse me?" I went, "Excuse me? Learn to walk better?" And anyway, I get damaged some shoes on the job, and I won't get graphic, but I still remember I went home. But anyway, I had to do cleanup still. Anyway, the employer said, "No, go to the ministry. We're not supplying you with that, only your uniform." That's okay. So I went there and they said, "No, we're not here as a handout. Like, you need to budget better, Brent. Budget better.
Yeah, right.
And live within your means." And I said, "Don't you tell me how to learn to live within my means." I said, when I was your age, my mom used to tell me that. I said, God rest her soul. I said, I don't need this. So I just chomped away. They come back at 1:30 this afternoon. Here's a check for you. Really? Like I just overpowered them. So I mean, so I look
sounds
back,
like there's no set program for it then.
No, there's not.
Kind of crappy.
Unless over time, Patrick, that they've changed things. I do know that their moving supplement, they've cracked down on that, where you now need to have a substantially cheaper accommodation or substantially reduced rent in order for them to move you.
Right.
And it never used to be that way, like really cheaper rent where. Actually, there's an announcement that I want to make on the channel today, just for our viewers and our listeners. I didn't want it to come down to the announcement today, but I've made a decision after over 14 years, being on Twitter, as now it's called X. I still call it Twitter. Twittersphere, and that's where this channel actually originally was born, was on Twitter Space, and I've come a long way with the Twitter over time, and we've now branched off to where we are now, and I'm just so excited the way that the journey is going with the show now, and it's great. However, with Twitter, I was still left on Twitter without the show. And that's good. It was good. Well, I should say it was good for a good while. But I found overall over time, I think that I've now need to move on away from Twitter. So effective immediately today, on May 31st, 2024, I will no longer be on Twitter. So anyone who needs to find me, they can find me on this channel on YouTube. Just look up PWD Allies podcast and check it out. You can go under Google. You can do a search.
PWD Allies podcast or Brent Frain podcast.
Yeah, you can look for me on there if you want to.
Disability podcast. It'll even come up, I think.
Yeah, if you want to continue following me on YouTube, if you really believe in lived experience stories and you want to come on to the show, reach out to Neil or myself. My email address is weatherman.langley@gmail.com. So definitely, or Neil, you can read out your email address too.
Yeah, mine is. I have two, but the one I usually give out is my Gmail, and it's neeljm .nm at gmail.com. That's my Gmail one.
And that's the way to find us if you want to come onto the show. If you want to be a sponsor and you believe that the content that you are listening to or watching live right now, definitely reach out to us. Like, if you want to be a sponsor, we greatly would appreciate that. And hey, not putting any saying like please donate to us. No, but if you believe in our content and you like it, you can actually relate to being an ally with somebody in your life that has a disability that's on provincial or disability assistance, or has been in a severe accident in their life, or they've got trauma in their life that now they've become disabled, because anyone can become disabled in their life at any point in time. As we get older, we all get more disabilities. They're either going to be prevalent, they're going to be either physical or non-physical, we're all in this this life together, right? We all maybe have different viewpoints on things, and that's okay, right? That's okay. On how do we get to financial security? We all have our viewpoints, and I like listening to all different viewpoints. And some people like my viewpoint, some people don't like my viewpoint. That's okay too, because we all learn from each other.
Yeah, and we have Alun joining us now, and as well MJ, and just to get them up to speed on the show, is we're kind of talking about this whole narrative that is on Twitter that sometimes gets pushed back about how we have to feel guilty somehow for our wants and our passions. Like, you have this passion for traveling, you love traveling, and there's certain people on Twitter. I mean, it only takes one or two, right? But there's certain people on Twitter that push back and say, you know what? I don't think that you should be traveling. I think that you should be suffering. And before you joined, Ellen, I was also giving my own example of my love for camera gear and spending money on camera gear. But the point I want to make too is, I was able to afford the camera gear while I had money, which was a few years ago, and I still was able to trade up on a lesser camera by trading in, old stuff. I was able to get a newer camera, but kind of a lesser model, that kind of deal, right? So it's not like I'm living high on the hog either, right? I mean, I'm sure Alun can say the same thing. I mean, he gets new camera gear too, but I'm sure you're trading in a lot of stuff to afford the new stuff too. So,
well, and you guys mentioned something that Brent, you were collecting and returning bottles and cans. Yeah. We don't have that option here in Ontario. We've got the beer store and LCBO, but pop cans, forget it. It's garbage here. It goes in recycling. There's no money back for that. That would create a huge, opportunity. I'd be picking them up off the road, but no, here you got to look for a beer can or pop can to get any money back, or a beer can or booze bottle.
Well, I remember when I went down to a recycle place, it was, this is 4 months ago, I took them down there and I turned around and there was some individuals, they were ready to grab my bags after I had just put them down. Yep. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, these are my bags. Like, what are you doing? Yep.
Here, it's for the most part, it's just alcoholics that collect beer cans and bottles. I mean, it is a supplement to your income, but it's also, you return it at the beer store here in Ontario, so you get a discount off your next 2-4. It's kind of recurring revenue stream for them. It's not really giving us money back. But that would
drop them off too, like right at our right outside our we have a recycle bin there, and regular garbage bin and a food bin, and all this stuff, and tins and plastics, and so we have people who drop them off in here all the time, and so we've grabbed them and taken them down and taken them in and got the money. Right now,
I totally believe in deposit refund. In fact, years ago, Ontario brought in their electronics recycling program, and I was an advocate publicly at Queen's Park for bringing in a deposit refund program for like your TVs and computers and that sort of thing. Because the way it is right now, you just pay a fee up front, and then they don't really care if it gets recycled. But if they gave us $5 back for our old TVs and stuff, cell phones, whatever, it would get recycled 100%.
Well, they get charged. Well, now, Patrick, they charge 20 cents. The stores, they charge like 20 cents for a deposit for a milk container, a 4-liter milk jug now, and and an enviro fee. You don't get that money back, but the enviro fee, but you get the deposit back. So,
but you want to hear something really funny?
Yeah, go ahead.
You want to hear something really funny?
Sure.
You go and get that 2-liter cardboard milk container, and you pay a deposit on it. But if you go and get that 1-liter cream container, okay, there's no deposit on it. Same material, different ink, right?
Yeah.
If you get the 1 liter, if you get the 1 liter of milk, there's a deposit on it, but not the 1 liter of cream. That's the goofiest thing.
Yeah.
Just add water, you got milk.
Yeah. So to catch up, MJ and Alan, I'm not sure if you caught it, but I made an announcement that
you're leaving Twitter.
Yeah, as of today, later today.
Can I respond?
Sure.
Sorry, my get another phone call coming in. Just a sec.
Music for the ears.
Basically, here's the thing: is you are doing a podcast, and that's a piece of power here to be able to go and use it as a tool and a weapon to go and say, hey, the politicians aren't doing this. And the podcasts that you do, and we talk about these issues, gives credence to that from the perspective of the people that are at the end of their policies, right? And I think that, the sad part is we're dealing with the human interest story here when it comes to persons with disabilities. And you've created a platform that gives the us a voice. And in my personal opinion, walking away from Twitter, just kind of hurts that voice. You've become an advocate, Brent, like it or not, you've become an advocate. So walking away from Twitter is a place where politicians are, right? And other advocacy organizations that are out there as well, advocating for the disabled community as well. So walking away from that, in my opinion, it might hurt this. It's just my thoughts.
And MJ, you're not wrong. I was thinking as Brent was talking that there's nothing wrong with being omni-channel these days. I mean, it sounds like a lot of work, but how many of us have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, blah 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 blah? Like all of them. So there's a free service you can use called Linktree, which actually allows you to put all your socials on one page, so it makes it easier for people to follow you. And it's free. And you don't have to respond to everybody. Like, there's lots of assholes, so F them. Like, if somebody has a bad opinion of them, they can go blow a goat. Sorry, but, eat crap.
Go blow a goat. Mine is kick rocks. But I had to say.
Yeah, I appreciate the feedback on that. It's been kind of whirling over the idea and thought on that too. It's some people would think that well, Brent, you're abandoning the PWD community advocacy, and other politicians that I follow, they may think, well, you're jumping ship, you're just going to abandon us, and so a lot of those thoughts have been kind of carefully thought through, and so I am doing a little bit of brainstorming on that today.
Well, let's back up the train a little bit though too. It's like back when you were on Twitter Spaces, you basically got forced off of Twitter Spaces from a couple of people, and then their pushback was, how dare you abandon us? So you had people that were pushing you off, and those same people were saying, how dare you abandon us, Brent? So
that's borderline personality disorder.
Yeah, and I guess that's the problem I have, is that you and I and everybody that's been on the podcast, like Ellen and Patrick and all of our guests, like all of the panelists that have been a part of the show, like we're all putting our faces out there, like so you have these anonymous people that you only know on Twitter, and they're like I said, they're serving as judge and jury and saying, how dare you, Brent? But yet they don't have the courage. They don't have the courage to stand up in front of a camera every week and say, "Here I am. I'm Brent Frain, or I'm Neil Matheson." And
I actually want to add something to that because I noticed that the spaces now on Twitter are video based. Now you can shut your camera off, but it's basically like a Zoom. Yeah. I don't know this because nobody came to my last two spaces. I was like, hello, is it just waiting for people? It was horrible. It was not, it was quite a dumpster fire. I had like 2 people show up and then 3 people left. And I was like, wow, that's that. I'm done.
You know what? There is value in a Twitter account that is old. Mine is from 2008 and I don't use it that often, but having older accounts means that they're more valid. Like I do not like it. Take it or leave it. I don't like it that you can pay to be verified now, because you see all sorts of people that are verified as nothing to do with what they are. Like it should be based on the name that's on your credit card. I think. I mean, if you want to be verified, it is your absolute. This is your name, but that's not what it is. So the blue check mark is worthless now.
The amount of time that you spent on Twitter and building up your base, that's what counts.
Yeah, but what I was thinking, you might be sick of it. You could sell your account or give it to somebody else to assume. And, nothing stops you from doing that rather than just shutting it down. You could make it just a page for this stuff and never respond to anybody who's a jerk. Like they can talk to the wall, you don't have to respond.
I jump in here as Birdie, and I realize that it's there's a whole bunch of irony in that there. But I'm here listening, and Patrick made a good point, and I don't even want to say specifically what point of Patrick's was, because they're all great. They're all great, from MJ and
I'm a little
Alun
crude, I know. But
No, but I mean, because I don't want to say, hey, this is what Brent can do, but I have an idea, and I'm just chirping in, and I'm gonna go back to being mute.
What's your idea? Come on.
Yeah, you have an idea.
She's keeping it secret for now.
No, I mean, it's for Brent's safety, and I'm not saying the point about yes, account selling definitely happens, right? And that's something that we, it's very identifiable when ownership switches over. Yeah. But I just mean that this is a great conversation, and I'm just applauding you guys because. Yeah,
and
whatever Brent decides to do, himself is
you can take a Twitter break and nobody will shoot you for it.
I mean, for me, it's I enjoy the advocacy, but there's obviously a lot of drama that goes with it too. For me,
toxicity is part of it.
Yeah, I mean, and I stay focused on the all the current events and what's going on. And there's ways I could probably remedy that situation, and I know what as an overview.
I think you know what I'm saying already without saying anything.
Yes, I do.
Well, and I've shared block often.
I've shared privately before with you, Brent, too. Is like when we started this whole thing back in 2022, on when you were on Twitter Spaces. And then it came over here in 2023, but right from day one, I never lost sight of the fact that this was your show, right? Like I said, right from when it was Twitter Spaces to now, I've never lost sight that it's your show, and I'm just kind of the steward of the show, right? And I think that was the problem with Twitter Spaces, is you had a few people that wanted it to be their show, and that's how you got forced off. And
nobody's doing it anymore. It's been at least 8 weeks since a PWD type, whether it was an open mic or anything, has not been floated. Nobody's running them. I tried to pick up the gauntlet about 3 weeks ago, and 2 people showed up and they stayed as listeners and then they left. So I was like, I was all ready to relaunch my tiny home one, and I was just like, this is pointless. Like,
Neil, do you know, or does anybody happen to know? I know it's possible if you're like a gamer to simulcast things from Twitch to YouTube at the same time. Is it possible to simulcast this to Twitter? And
I do know the answer to this. I don't know if Neil quite like.
I have seen it. I have seen it before, but I don't know how to do it.
It's technically against terms of service, whether it's against YouTube terms of service or Twitch terms of service. It sort of flip-flops every few years.
Okay.
But yes, I mean, simulcast to other platforms, because there are definitely other options besides even Twitch. But but this is why my ears are just soaking in words that you guys are saying, and I can't even say out loud.
Yeah.
I don't see the point in like, you get sick of people and you don't want to deal with them anymore, and you just want to go and do your own thing. But there's value here, and you've done a lot of work, so it'd be a shame to lose it all.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I've been kind of weighing up too. People listening right now, they're probably like, well, yeah, but you just said earlier that you said effective immediately today. But
today you're not going to do it right now.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I can't get on it right now.
You're talking with your advisors right now.
Yeah. Stay put, Brent. Stay put.
The round table here.
One of the things Patrick and I will be familiar with is, and a lot of people are starting to use it as a social media platform really heavily, even though it's been kind of slated to be shut down by the Americans, is the TikTok thing.
Yes.
And a lot of people with disabilities are using this platform heavily, whether it's to do open mics or to do reels or to do stories about what's going on, what they're facing, because the algorithm does get picked up quicker there. I think I've seen a lot more stuff, a lot more people in the what do they call it, Patrick? The algorithm. They call it the FYP or whatever they're calling it. I don't know what that.
I don't know what it's called, but I know what you mean.
It's kind of like a news feed. Right?
It's like if you start following
feed.
people, you start seeing a lot more people with disabilities, whether they've got ADHD or autism or they're a parent.
There's an awful lot of Tourette's. Tourette's is very entertaining. I shouldn't be laughing, but it is funny.
I find it is interesting on how the TikTok, some of these videos are put together. It's interesting.
The only thing with TikTok is it takes a while before you can do it live.
Yeah, it's a slow burn
on it. It's a slow burn. You have to really build up. I think you have to have 1,000 followers.
Yeah,
or something.
I got 1,000. I got 1,000 now. I could.
I don't think I do yet. I don't know how to
put it on mine. Not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I was thinking though? Like, do you guys have a Facebook page? Because that's a super simple, cheap, easy.
I have a Facebook page.
I do.
For the PWD?
Not for the PWD, no.
Not for PWD, no.
Because of the way it's being structured, is the reason, right? Like behind why they have their separate things. There was a good reason that things were, because we did have a web page, but then so it's always a balancing act, and then you do one thing and then it doesn't work out, and then you try a new thing, and then that thing works for a while, and then we come back to, hey, that was an old idea, but we should probably just
modernize it.
Some of the things get fractured, and one comment I was going to make is that you've always had a really strong following on Twitter. Brent, and I know when you first started the Twitter Spaces, like people knew you for the Twitter Spaces, and they didn't even know anything about the YouTube channel, even though the YouTube channel started at the same time. I mean, I was still posting the videos out, but now it's kind of flipped, where I think everybody that's following this podcast that we've brought over to YouTube, most people know you from YouTube now, so you're getting more traction from YouTube so it's you've kind of flipped the script on it a little bit.
Google's algorithm, I think Google's algorithm trumps the TikTok one, just for the length of life that things are on YouTube, which is forever, and then everything gets what do you call it, dubbed. The audio gets
the audio
transcribed.
Dubbing is great.
Transcription.
I mean, one thing that I found too is on Twitter is people will say, well, I'm going to go and check out your YouTube, right? So it kind of works, coincide,
Well, you can play kind of ping pong, put it on this, and then you don't simulcast, but maybe you take the recording that you've already done and you put it out elsewhere in long format. Like, I think Instagram lets you do 20 minutes.
I've almost got 4,000 followers now, right? So it's built up the base on it. Eh?
Have you checked out Threads?
To mention that Neil does, there is some carryover because the show isn't just on YouTube. Neil, doesn't it get carried over to Spotify?
That's true. It's on Spotify as well. Yes.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
On your favorite app.
Yeah, and we have an audience in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
And they're running your show there on
every Wednesday.
High Energy FM. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
because
shout out to Akil.
Yeah.
Because things have changed over time, and you can't, chase the algorithm. Things have changed over time, and things will change over time, right? And whatever Brent decides is best for his mental health and the health of his house, in the end of the day is Brent's choice.
You could hand it off to somebody else for a while, if you wanted to.
But this whole show is about well-being, and it's just about. I don't think we should be made to feel guilty, or that we should have other people on social media telling us like, Brent, you're not entitled to your latte, or you're not entitled to a train trip.
What's funny? What's funny, Neil? They talk about how we shouldn't live like this or whatever. I listen to Bloomberg regularly because I'm trying to learn about investing in my RDSP, and they were saying the other day that it's over 2/3 of Americans co-sign for their kids to buy a house, and I think that it's probably similar here in Canada. I mean, the people that tell you can't afford your lifestyle probably can't afford their own. It's bad. If you want to buy a house and you got a regular income and all that other stuff, you got to have 20% down. And on $1 million house, come on, $200,000 you got to have regular.
Well, here's another food for thought on that too. Is some people say, well, how can you afford to go on a nice trip like that? And we had talked about this off air. I was talking to Neil about this earlier, and our rent, like actually wasn't earlier, it was the other day. But I mean, our rent is, to us, it's still high, but it's cheaper. It's cheaper than the market rent that's actually right now. It's even higher, even in our current building. Like if we were to move out of our unit right now and move into another unit in the same building, we'd be paying a lot more. Now we'd have hardly anything to even hope to even go anywhere. You'd be having to save up for at least 20 years, 30 years in order to go on a little basic trip. The landlord would be happy because it's more.
Well, And that's another thing, Brent. Sorry to interrupt, but that's another thing. Is I just wanted to, and I'm not gonna out the person. I'm not gonna mention any name or whatever. But one of your biggest critics that has been lobbing all these bombs at you about your trip. I mean, he has an RGI unit. He's got the blessing and fortune of having an RGI unit, so he's paying a maximum of $500 a month.
Sounds like chucking stones in a glass house.
Yeah, so he's lobbing bombs at you, and yet he's not willing to acknowledge that. You know what? I'm extremely fortunate to only be paying $500 a month in rent on an RGI unit. That there's no way I would be able to afford my place otherwise.
Meat kettle.
And is when I was on the train trip, I was talking to some individuals within Canada and in the U.S. We were talking about exactly this topic right now. I tell you, some people want to know, well, who the hell is this person? Because I was talking to some of the actual employees who are making good money on these trains, and some of them were just flabbergasted. They were flabbergasted with the comment that person made, and they said, so what? Your rent is a little bit cheaper. Okay, you can afford to do this, but you probably saved up for a long time. I go, yeah. When I worked, I actually kept saving money. A little bit here and there, and all tax credits. And he goes, so what? You're enjoying life. I mean, what? You're not supposed to enjoy life. You're supposed to stay within four walls, not go anywhere. They said, does this person ever go away? I said, oh yeah. This person actually flew out to British Columbia, and he's disabled. Oh, okay. So what? So it's pinning disabled against disabled? Is that what he's trying to do? I go, I don't know. I don't know. It seems that way, but you know what?
Yes.
Ego and jealousy.
You gotta have no.
I just advocate to basically make a better system for all. I mean, I said, for my view is that with the rent so high and people can't get into subsidized housing, and I believe that people should have RGI. I truly believe RGI is the way to go, unless they can actually afford to actually own their own home. But RGI in the meantime. But it needs to be based on the individual, not the household income. That's what it needs to be based on. Otherwise, the system is it's set up for the politicians to benefit.
I know there are some good landlords out there, but I have not had so much luck. I've been messaging to find out what options are out there, and I've been getting some pretty ignorant people. Like I inquired about a room that was it was basically a finished townhouse basement, so I would have my own bathroom and basically the entire downstairs except for the washer and dryer room. And the guy was like, he wanted 6 months of rent up front because I was on disability.
Oh wow. That's just not
right. And when I told him that wasn't right and he couldn't do that, he said, well, maybe you should go live at home with family and stop taking up space for other people. Wow. So
you know what? You should sue.
I've had some really ignorant people that
you should sue. Find a reason to sue and sue. You know.
Yeah.
Emotional damage. Let's go with emotional damage.
Take his house.
Yeah, and it's like with housing, like right now, BC
and the problem, Brent, is and I don't know if it's just Ontario, but
no, it's everywhere.
I'm seeing like landlords going, no males wanted, no females only, and not even Caucasian females, like Asian females. It's just like I looked at one place.
They can't do that.
Keystone.
They're getting away with it in Ontario. Just to make it clear, I've seen some absolutely dreadful listings in Ontario specifically.
Oh yeah, like
disgusting, just as bad as Alun is saying, unfortunately.
Yeah, one I went to look at. It said private room with bathroom available, and I went to see it, and it was this huge house way out in the thing. And what they'd done is they'd taken the basement and put a bunch of single rooms, enough for a single bed and a dresser. And they were just lined up. Again, they literally partitioned their basement into like a rooming house So 8 people to share one bathroom.
Oh my
Like,
God.
I was like, and they were like $600 a month.
And they get it.
Each.
You know, what I wonder is this landlord actually claiming individual tenancies? Are they paying the property tax based on one household, or are they saying they're individual?
Well, I'm at the point where I don't know where to move because my building's up for sale. Is sold.
No.
The building, the office is actually reduced its hours. It's open now. It used to be 12. It used to be 9 till 5 on Monday to Friday. It's now 9 till 3 on Monday to Thursday, and Friday is 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. and then they're not open during the weekend. So obviously the new owners are trying to cut whatever it costs. I'm just worried. I'm trying to make sure that I don't end up in a renoviction situation where they just say, we have to see, because when they sold the building, I didn't realize the building had been sold. A bunch of people with fancy suits were walking around with iPads, measuring and doing a tour of the building. And outside, they were doing that thing where they put the tripod up and they measured the distance of the lot.
Surveying,
with a tape survey.
They had one of those.
To start, hey, Alan, you got to remember to start documenting, because if there is a renovation situation that happens, you got to keep track of all this shit, because in a year when they go to re-let the room, they have to be able to give it back to you at the same price, and if they don't, you can sue them. You know, like, and it's a big deal.
See, but I don't think that's, you know, what a lot of these places are doing is they're going and taking apartment buildings and moving them directly to condos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they.
But Alan,
here's the problem with our building is the main floor of the building, the main street level, is all like Burger King and Popeyes and Dairy Queen, right? But what they do. But the problem is, MJ, is the way the building is built in, they would literally have to flatten it and lop off the back of the building because the entrance is so integrated into the 70s main floor. Like it's, I could do a video tour, but it's really.
Well, you know, it'd be mixed-use condos is what it would be. Commercial, residential, you know, office.
They could do it,
You know, you can do a condo situation with any way.
A lot of the times they're not even doing that, though. They're just painting it and then reletting it. You know, like it's.
I think this building is in such rough shape. They would have to gut every apartment building, and the problem is, like, I can't even put pictures up because there's an inch of drywall and then it's cement behind it. So it's old 70s technology. Like the units that I mopped my floor with bleach just to get my floors clean, and they're so shot that they look dirty even after I've mopped them. So it's
that's why you need to use, that's why you need to use degreaser on it, and then you go and clean it with soap and water.
I did. I sat with a SOS pad in circular motions on my hands and knees for an hour.
Oh my God!
And it didn't do anything. I use them bleach.
Wipe off.
Yeah.
Wipe off.
You know the answer to that is a throw.
I am mentally sitting there with a gallon of gas and a match.
Well, see, you know, this is
just to say that Alan is joking.
Yeah. I'm like, what's the next cleaning solution?
Alan, I think your cleaning solution, Alan, is a throw rug. You know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's just.
I guess that cleaning solution didn't work.
The thing is, like, and my apartment looks nice compared to the hallway. Like the hallway, the floors are shot, the tiles are stained, so they would literally have to kick everybody out of this building and gut it if they were going to even.
Are
just
they red carpet?
Well, here's the other thing: if those if the tiles on the floor are the old style tiles that were made with asbestos.
Yeah,
that means they got to kick everyone out while this whole thing is fumigated, cleaned, and all the rest of this stuff, because you can't be walking up and down that hallway while they're doing this work. It just isn't possible because they got to seal every single apartment and all the rest of that stuff. You know, to keep.
Well, I walked up and down the street. I walked up and down the streets, and a lot of store fronts are now being used as entrances for condos. So they're actually putting condos behind the store where the stores were, and like there's several places that when you walk into what was a commercial store space, it's actually the entrance into the condo.
Are they knocking the buildings down, or are they knocking them down?
I think they're trying to keep the integrity or the look of the old downtown Kingston, but they're also trying to throw up, because it's a limestone. A lot of the buildings are still limestone. As you walk down the main downtown area, there's a lot of limestone.
If your building's a historic building,
it's not. Right? It's just I'm just saying that the architecture from one building to the next can be limestone, the original, and one can be brick. But a lot of the storefronts are being converted into entrances, and a lot of new condos are going up everywhere. Like where my street is there's a Metro and a Division and Princess. There's condos going up like everywhere. So I think they've got their eye on my building as a new condo.
Flip it over.
Yeah. Well, tear it down and put a new condo up.
Keep an eye on the Kijiji ads and the marketplace, because you never know.
$1,500 for a bachelor. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah. Well, what I mean is the place you're in now is probably going to be rented in another year at triple market rent what it is today.
The other problem I'm having is ODSP is saying I have almost exceeded the amount they're actually giving me, which is going directly to my rent. And they're talking about like I'm basically being forced to find somewhere cheaper to live if I want to keep my ODSP.
Wow.
They're not saying it out loud, but they're quiet threatening, basically saying we might have to put your benefits on hold if your rent exceeds $1,300.
Wow. The thing I don't understand with all the cost of rent geared to income and all that other stuff, why don't they have mortgage geared to income?
I wish they had that. Yeah.
It makes sense. It would make sense.
Exactly. That's the thing is all of the talk that I've listened to and we've talked about in the past almost 6 months. I think it's been 6 months since I started coming here.
Yeah, at least.
We've talked about rent to income and all the rest of this stuff. But that's a good point.
Good point.
That's a good point, because mortgage to income or something, because they're not encouraging ownership of property. They're encouraging us to become renters. Right?
Yeah.
And
my friend is he's a technician for a Linux-based company. He makes $90K a year. He rents a condo that's about $2,500 a month, and he failed his mortgage test, whatever they call it, the
stress test.
Stress test. He makes $90K a year, and he failed it, so he's forced to rent.
See, here's the problem. Also, is that
like if you can afford to pay $2,000.
Yeah, like the corporate landlords right now, they're just raking in billions and billions and billions of dollars, and it's like the governments are caving to them, going, "Oh, well, they choose to pay market rent." Well, then there's like at least a 20-year waiting list to get onto subsidized housing. Housing. Well,
even at market value, even a co-op at market value is 20-year wait list.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
I know, and I mean, people should be at least having some value in return. So like a mortgage, if you have a mortgage, like something that you can see for, you're paying all that money out rather than corporate landlords.
You know what I'd like? I'd like to be able to take my RDSP, which is getting close to 100,000 now, and I'd like to be able to use part of that as collateral to buy a place. I mean, and kind of, self-finance. It makes sense, but it's untouchable. You can't use it at all.
See, and this is the problem with this whole system, is they've made it so that we're caught between a rock and a hard place. It's like, okay, we're guaranteed, like Alun. So, for example, I think he said he was paying like $1,300, or that was the number he threw around.
$1,260. It'll be
right.
$1,291 in a dry.
So if you can
I
afford
only
to go
get
pay
$1,300 a month in ODSP.
Right. So if you can afford to go and get that money, pay that in rent, why is it that the government won't go and say, okay, this guy is a guaranteed, he has guaranteed income, he's on disability. Why don't we go and find him a place he can own, right? Mm-hmm. Right? That would make more sense. We all know that, a very basic home, to build starts at about $150,000. Now with all the initiatives and all the rest of that stuff, you're talking about $250,000 for a single person. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is insane.
Well, yeah.
Right. So how are we going to afford something like that, on the money we get?
Well, exactly, because you look at each year. I mean, MJ, like you're in BC too, then Neil. So I mean, you look at this year, at 3.5% increase on your current rent. So because our rent is lower than our neighbor, our new neighbors that just moved in upstairs. See, before we went away, we had other neighbors up there, and they said, well, when we move, we hope that your new neighbors are going to be as quiet as we were. And they were a little bit noisy, nothing much. The new neighbors, well, we got back and we were joking about, I can guarantee our new neighbors are probably not going to be as quiet. Guess what? Nope. Yep. Late night, and all of a sudden you get woken up. Boom, drop something on the floor. Boom, you started awake, right? So anyway, with that being said, is that a 3.5% increase on your rent, right? So if your rent's still relatively low because you got in when the market was still the rent before they started skyrocketing up, great, but that keeps going up every year. So if you don't get an increase on your income, well, your landlord is still going to tick it up, and then next year, here you go.
Exactly, right? Why is it that our disability rates don't go up?
And my mortgage, my property tax. I just got my property tax and I paid it just yesterday. I paid it. Oh. It was over $1,300 property tax. And guess how I paid it? I paid it by going into debt again to pay it.
Yeah.
Because that's my only option, is to go into debt to pay it, because if I don't pay it, I'm going to be on my ass, homeless, just like everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a point that Brent and I make, like, privately, is that because the increase from ODSP or PWD in BC, when it goes out, doesn't tie in with the same date as our rental increases. So I get less of the tax credits. Brent and I both get less tax credits than other people whose rent does go up at the same time, because like mine specifically is really out of sync. I mean, it's still the municipality that pays, right? I mean, it still goes through, but it affects my tax credit. So I have less purchasing power than somebody across the hall who has a newer date, because I've been here for a decade, right? And those things, though positives, right? I mean, they also hit you back because you're not a tenant that's paying a higher price. So when it comes to getting maintenance on our units, right? And we're in different provinces. So much of what Brent goes through, I go through as well, right? So
well, I'll give you an example here really quickly. Is so before we went away, our tenants who lived above us were paying $1,750. Now they had got a rent increase. They were living there for a year, and then anyway they moved. They gave their notice in. I didn't even know until they told us that they're going to be moving. They timed it up so that their rent increase notice didn't take effect until May the 1st. They moved on end of April. So they said they wanted to benefit it so that the new tenants wouldn't be paying more than $1,750. Otherwise, if they would have stayed for one more month past their 1 year lease agreement, right? So they would have just been month to month. Their new tenants, when they moved, their new tenants would have been paying over $1,800. So they said they wanted to do it so that the new tenants, whoever they would be paying only $1,750. Well, the property management, I mean, they've already made hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars on that unit, because the guy before was paying way, way below. So that's how that works. Now, there's no vacancy control. So as soon as a tenant moves out, the other tenant should automatically be the same amount. there's pros and cons to that because, also because like Sonia says to me too off air is, yeah, some landlords they'll find other ways around to get the tenant out. If they're not going to make a profit, then they're going to find other ways. They always find a way one way or another anyway.
Well, I think the one of the big problems we have is, as you mentioned, these corporate landlords that are making tons of money have forced the mom and pop landlords, the people that own maybe a second home as an investment, they force them to push their amounts up so high that the regular person can't even swing $1,200 without having no food to eat. Like I'm in that boat. Like I'm like, how many times do I have to ask Jen Evans from Mutual Aid on Twitter? Like it's getting insane. I feel like a mooch.
And sorry, I was just going to quickly say this gets back to the well-being discussion again. It's like, are we only going to just be sustaining ourselves, paying rent, and only sustaining ourselves? As you said, I think on the last podcast that we're just food eaters, right? we're just you said that on the last podcast there, Patrick. That PWD are just food eaters. I think we should be more than just food eaters. I think there should be a narrative out there, and it should be spearheaded by the governments that take on the idea that, you know what, PWD are more than just food eaters. They deserve to have some level of well-being as well. Yeah. Not just barely paying rents, not just barely paying for food, but having some level of well-being, because well-being is important, right?
Well,
like a pair of shoes.
It's not just the feel-good part of it, but think about long-term cost. I mean, healthy people that are mentally healthy cost less for the system.
Exactly.
So stop being short-sighted and make us comfortable. It would be.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I look at it. Is, I mean, I like the comment that Ellen that you mentioned, like, reach out for mutual aid. I mean, I had a comment that came in, Ellen, I think I liked your post. I think I retweeted it for you, and somebody said, maybe you should try Weatherman. He goes on a train instead, so maybe ask him for money. And I thought, you know what? Like, really? Like, are we playing disabled against disabled people here?
Right. It's a lot of people.
I was wondering. It seems that in a lot of municipalities here in Ontario, they've started, years ago, they started getting rid of the four-season trailer parks. And it's unfortunate because, not everybody wants to live in an apartment building. And apartment buildings are more expensive than mobile homes. But mobile homes are no longer an option here. And it's unfortunate because, it's one of those places that you can actually...
It's the NIMBY, not in my backyard. Bullshit. Even I have a friend of mine, they just finished their tiny home being built in Montreal. They haven't taken possession of it yet. They sold their condo because the monthly payments were almost as much as it was going to cost them for the mortgage on the tiny home. So they're putting the tiny home, I think it's in Kitchener area. There's a kind of a full all around your trailer park that has tiny homes in it already. So I think they're going to put it there, but I'm not quite sure. But like you said, we'll have this thing paid off in 10 years.
Yep.
Just by paying $500 a month.
MJ, or it could be Brent. He's got food. He's got food on the train, and he's got accommodation. I mean, food. No, you go without food. No, you can't have food.
You know what else is cheap? Why don't we just all go to prison? Because you get bigger than
and to get 3 meals a day.
Except for that, that's not actually like the real perspective of it, because somebody, I mean, who is disabled and incarcerated does not have any say over what is like actually needed, even like like the amount of water, like it's such a dire thing, right? But society has put out this
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Actually, yeah, as a disabled person, we get less than prisoners, which is kind of, sad here in Ontario. Because
well, what we have, the problems we have is a lot of any of the conservative uh, premiers are not giving the municipalities their subsidy amount to run local subsidies. So like I talked to the lady of March Dimes, and she was like, "Yeah, none of us are getting subsidy funding this year. He's completely cut it, completely. Like they say, we have some of these places like March Dimes. They don't do it in Kingston, but other agencies like the Kingston Independent Living Program and the city of Kingston last year, they had a homeless prevention subsidy, which was about 800 a month uh, offset rent. So ideally, you're paying about $500 of your own money once you get the subsidy, but put in your bank. But Doug Floyd's cut that, because he needs beer in corner stores.
Yeah, right.
One of the segments that we're going to be doing on a future series, we're going to talk about corporate landlords, about them not wanting to rent to people with disabilities. There's
and local landlords too. Like I'm telling you, Brent, I've been getting. I went to look at an apartment that was a bachelor, but it was a basement bachelor apartment, all open concept. It was bigger than mine. I think I'm like 300 square feet or something, 400 maybe. It's not enough for a couch anyway, here for sure. But this guy was like, "No, I'm not renting to someone with a disability. I don't need the headache." Go live with your
You know what
family.
I'd like to
That's
know? It's not something we need to worry about yet. But what happens to older people with disabilities? I mean, like
exactly, especially if you're over 65.
Well, once you're in your age that you need a retirement home, like we can't afford to live normal rent. How the hell are we going to afford $8,000 a month for a nursing home? You got to be on a waiting list to get into the provincial ones, and they are terrible apparently. But
they're horrible. There's one in St. Catharines called Queenston Manor, and it is the worst place. I went in with my girlfriend at the time, Jordan, who lives not far from me, and she had to go pick up her pay stub from work because they didn't get the payroll. So we walked into this place. It was a nightmare. I would rather be living in a doorway on the street in the winter than
the
in
smell
this place.
Kicks you.
In the hallways, it was just horrible.
My friend Kent Brent.
Yes.
He was on the podcast a little while ago. He's often made the comment, and I kind of agree with it actually. I mean, here in BC, we have something called the Timmy's Christmas Telethon. I think it started in the mid to late. I think the first one was like 1975, if I'm not or 1975 or 1977, somewhere in there. I got on the first few as a stage kid, Timmy's Christmas Telethon, and it was for Easter seals, and it was like before Christmas, it was like a fundraiser. So you'd telethon that would raise money for Easter seals, and anyway, my friend Kent said that I think the attitude back in the mid 70s was that everybody with a disability, like all of us young kids at the time, the prevailing wisdom from a lot of medical professionals and everybody was that these kids are all going to die really young. Nobody expected us, I think, to live to the ages that we're living.
That's what my doctor gave my parents. 10. By the time you have as much fun with him as you can, because at the age of 10, he's gone.
I mean that's the argument that Kent makes, and I think he makes a good point. Is that he says like that's why they did all these like fancy telethons, because to spoil the disabled kids, because they thought, well, all these disabled kids are going to be dead in 10 years. So we might as well spoil them now, because they're not going to be around in 10 or 15 years. They're all going to be dead. That was the common prevailing wisdom back then.
Well, people are living longer these days. You know,
now they just
everybody's living
raise
longer.
the rates.
Yeah.
Actually, you know that's why housing costs what it does is because people are living longer. You know,
Yeah, that's exactly it.
We had a major... The boomer remover didn't happen. You know,
well, we've had a major
didn't...
population into BC in the last, over a couple of years now. And it's just, well, even more, it's been surging in. And estimated is like every 37 days, they said there's over 10,000 people coming into BC every 37 days on average. Yeah, it's huge. And they're saying...
How many people are exiting BC every so many days?
Well, that's what they're not saying.
I was watching something on it was on TikTok, and this I guess this Gen Z kid was, kind of putting down people who are boomers and Gen Xers, like, look what you've done to us, blah blah blah. And I guess someone stitched it, and it was a Gen Xer, and they were like, listen, we were around way before you. You think you have it rough? We used to climb a tree to get the house key. That wasn't a Gen Xer.
Yeah.
Like, you're talking to a generation that used to cook dinner before we had breakfast, and went up the tree 50 feet to get the house key because the parents worked till 6 p.m.
One thing we noticed though when we did travel up to Ontario and to Toronto there, Sonia kept telling me, she would complain like her jaw would be aching, this and that, and it didn't ache one bit while we were there, not once. Like different things. Yeah, and it was just like, wow, okay. I mean, it's the climate. It's just the climate's a little bit different from here to there, from where we are here.
Yeah. You were only a few hours in Toronto, I guess, eh?
No, we were there for a couple of days, Alun.
So did you stay with someone in Toronto, or?
No. We actually came out and Dan actually showed us around when we got out there.
Right.
Yeah, and
I was just curious.
Yeah, we actually saw the Birdie.
Yeah, it was so wonderful because we got to go to at least one of my favorite places. Brent has not been updated that I've been talking and asking around about the area around the GO station, and it's quite an interesting story. And my shoes are still in a plastic bag in the closet because of the smell. I just cannot get rid of the smell in those shoes. So right now, if I had to walk across town, Brent, those are my walking shoes. But the smell, because the smell's in them, and now I'm looking at like older shoes. Like I need very specific footwear in order to like not fall over, right? Yeah, so I was looking at old footwear, and the old footwear that's in bags, it still has a smell, even though I had done like baking soda and stuff. So like right now, in order to access anything, right? Like I have to hope and pray that my sandals won't cause a blister. I was off my feet for 3 weeks because of a blister.
Oh wow.
Wow. I mean it was interesting because
but it was nice to share that with you.
Yeah, it was quite a neat journey on the way to visit with you too, and how weather changes so rapidly too. I mean, wow. And it reminded me of here because it changes. We can go downtown and it could be just pouring out here, nice and partly sunny or sunny, and it's just like, and it reminded me of that. But the weather was the barometric pressure I noticed was way different out there, way better. I mean, so and this is not like doing a BC versus Ontario, but for people that maybe they grew up in BC, like there's a lot of people moving out of BC. I mean, it's beautiful. And I'm not going to downgrade and say, no, it's terrible. It is beautiful, but it's expensive, right? You pay for the beauty. If somebody were to ask me, crystal ball, where would you move to? Well, and this doesn't come down to any political leader or whoever's running the province, this and that, because that's like irrelevant. It's like if we had to choose, like, and I asked Sonia, if you had to choose, where would you want to move to? You know where she said? Sonia, where did you say?
Ontario.
Oh, really?
is because
let's get rid of Doug Ford first.
It's because of the well, it's because of the climate.
Actually, no, I'm New York.
She says New York. Well,
Sonia, I would choose New York as well, but the air pressure difference, the elevation differences, it really showed Brent why there are so many people that living in BC that had lived in Ontario, why there's that flip-flop back and forth, because especially where he was visiting in Ontario, it was very similar or different to Victoria, and because we've shared.
Oh yeah, and that's exactly it. And there was a lot of similarities. And you know, one thing we did find though, and I actually talked to a friend of mine about this. We had checked out McDonald's while we were there in Ontario with Dan. Anyway, we figured we were kind of nibbly. We wanted something to eat when we got in, so we went to a food court, and we went. There was a McDonald's that was there. First thing Sonia says, "Oh my gosh, this burger! It's so big." And so what we've determined is that the supplier that supplies to Ontario versus BC, the burgers are bigger.
Oh wow!
I mean, the Big Mac's bigger. Those buggers.
Well, the price though is
burger buggers.
Cheaper. The price was a little bit cheaper than it is in BC. So because of taxation. And we were talking to a lady, one of the managers there, and she said, like she heard the same thing. And it's because of taxation. Even though Ontario has a flat tax, right? There's the HST. BC doesn't have it. For BC,
the reason we got rid of the HST in BC was because it was going and putting taxes on building materials, right? Right. And that was the big issue. All of a sudden, you had tax on wood where there was no tax, or other building materials in the process of building a home. Those all of a sudden had the HST put on them, and that increased the cost of building houses during that entire period by upwards of $100,000.
There's a trick here in Ontario. If you want to eat out, and you're a little peckish, but you don't want a full meal, if you spend under $4 at a restaurant, there's a lower tax rate. It's weird. I don't understand it. But
we were very selective though of what because I had different foods that kind of really upset me. My tummy doesn't handle certain foods very well, so I had to be very, very selective. I mean, years ago I could just go and eat. I mean, I would just go and eat whatever because I still wanted to eat it. But then I'd be like, okay, I'm not feeling so swift here. Why? Well, then I began to realize that down says, hey, like you're having your body's having an effect here. You need to now deal with it. I go, right. So I just kept on going. But yeah, there's repercussions.
I just added Burger King to my no fly list.
No fly list.
I had a regular Whopper there. And I had a friend of mine from Brampton staying in town for a day, and I got us two Whoppers for $20. I was like, ow! But after that, after my I couldn't eat the whole Whopper, not because I wasn't hungry, I was, but I added Whopper Burger King completely to my playlist.
Top of my list these days. Top of my list these days is I put Pizzaville on the top of my list for places to eat at now because $15 for a large and it'll last me 3 days.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
That's good.
Well, that's what we did. We were there. We actually had ordered. Something like that while we were there, and it was great. I mean, hey, it got delivered right to us. So
I always find sushi really cheap too. You get a couple rolls of sushi on a special, and that can fill you up, like the rice roll or whatever. It's good.
Oh yeah.
But I was going to say is we're getting nearer to the end of the show.
Oh, okay.
But those are luxuries we shouldn't be having because we're disabled, right?
Here's something I shouldn't own.
Well, and again, I did share that with everybody, Alun, before you got on the show, is that, that there are going to be people out there that are going to say that you and I shouldn't own camera equipment, like how dare we?
My family, who's photographers, are Christians, and they're like, you should sell all your camera gear. Yeah. You're going to get mugged. You shouldn't have it. people who earn money should have those things. I've been through this with my family.
The Christian kinds. I love
that. Doesn't sound like a very Christian attitude at all.
No, come on. Here. Here's my cross.
Yeah.
I've had
well, which denomination are you? That makes a difference.
I'm not against anybody that follows a religion at all, but
I'm not.
From what I've seen from the whole Christian base now, that it's going very, very far right, and I just kind of ignore it.
You know what? You go to a Catholic service, it's the total opposite. It's more liberal than anything else.
One thing I noticed too is that there was a lot of Shoppers Drug Marts that are 24 hours in Toronto. I couldn't believe it.
And some on opposite corners. I'm not sure if your area.
I know everywhere I looked, and we
that's
wanted
like
to check
Starbucks here.
There was I think a 50s or 60s diner that was down there too, and I turned around. I guess so. And he said, if you're hungry, man. I go, well,
Wimpy's
goes,
is
well,
good.
He's not going to be wandering at that time. And if you want something to eat, that's a good place to check out. I go, oh, okay, I'll keep mine.
Did you go to Fran's? Was that Fran's?
Yeah, it's Fran's. I got a chance to go there.
I used to get spaghetti there. I go there by myself.
Yeah, it was. We didn't have enough time because we got there, and I was ticked off because the hotel that we stayed at said they had laundry, and I thought, okay, good, and I confirmed it. It was a miscommunication. So I get there, okay, well, we got a load of laundry to do, and no, we don't have it. Are you kidding me? So we were trying to, and so I remember, Birdie, messaging you about laundry. We found it, actually. It was closer than what we thought. It was only a 15-minute walk. So we walked right down the sidewalk, and it was.
But those streets. Yeah. I mean, the first time, especially Brent trying to walk down, like the area that I pointed him towards, right? Like, I gave him the Google Maps, and I figured somebody would rescue him or point him in the right direction.
Do not go down there.
Yeah, and we walked down.
But Brent, what was really great about your time in Toronto is when you were leaving, how quickly it came together and how smoothly it came together. Because I mean, your departure from Toronto was much easier.
Oh, it was the timing, because I said to them at the hotel, I said, so here's the map, and I showed them the map that you gave me, and they're like, oh wow, okay. She goes, yeah, so you just go out the door here, and I just go walk right, and I said, okay, and she goes, actually left, sorry, and then walk right. I go, oh, okay, and straight down. Just keep going straight down, and then you're gonna turn left, and then right, and it's right there. I'm like, oh wow.
The station confuses me so bad now. I was living in Toronto, and if anybody's been in downtown Toronto, say 2009 to 2013, the whole Union Station was like brown brick with like half circular stairways up to the gates. It was like so barbaric, but it was so easy to navigate.
The only thing that we had a little obstacle was trying to find change for the laundry, and we had to go to this little store. Yeah, no problem. And they had a Shoppers Drug Mart just down there, and then there's a Dollarama down there. So we was like, okay, so this other guy, he needed change too. He goes, yeah, just go to the store. Don't bother going to Shoppers Drug Mart or Dollarama. They're gonna make you buy something in there. Oh, okay. So we went in there. They had no problem.
They should really just rebrand Shoppers as Loblaws. Just call them all Loblaws. We're not fooled.
I just wanted to say too, I really enjoyed putting those segments together, all of them, and it was fun for me. I kind of it felt like I was living vicariously through you and Sonia, and it was fun. And I think these trips should be celebrated. I didn't like that you were getting pushback, because it's like there should be a celebrated thing where people should actually really enjoy them. Yeah.
When I was submitting them off to you, there was actually a couple individuals on the train. As I was submitting off, we were like a day behind when I was submitting them off to you, right? And then you were posting them out. I had a couple individuals on the train, and they said, hey, Neil's already posted out your video. I go, what?
Wow.
And for train enthusiasts, they've traveled all the way across Canada. Every single train line in the U.S. that you could think of, they've taken them. They've taken them in Europe. They've taken them everywhere. I'm like, oh wow, this one guy, he's actually from the UK, and we were talking about the going on like BC and versus like UK and the US and all of Canada, and they're like, yeah, you guys have a lieutenant governor or this and that, and oh blah. And I said, look, no, let's don't go there. Let's no. I said, leave that alone. And so we were just knocking back and forth of, well, this country, and we were all laughing away and talking about train trips. And
it's funny that any of the gripes we have all seem to boil down to the conservatives in that particular area. What about wait, let's see, we got England conservatives.
No, that's what they were saying.
Ontario conservatives.
They were kind of going there with that, but what they were saying overall, they were enjoying the train trip, and they said, "Wow, you're on the train here still," and he's already now posted out the one segment from Vancouver to Winnipeg, and oh wow. I go, yeah. So he's already got this, and like it was pretty cool. And we got there in Winnipeg. Everything was shut down though. It was on a Sunday. Everything was like, but it was okay because we got there late, and they had said, well, like we were running behind, so they said, you know what, we're still gonna give everybody about 45 minutes. 45 minutes. We want you all back on the train. We were supposed to be there for 2 hours, and I'm actually kind of glad because like really there was nothing open, and it was just time for us to kind of just look around. And I felt bad because a couple of our previous guests, Neil, that we had on, they moved to Winnipeg and they really wanted to see us. Yeah. But I said to them, like, it was just way too late. Like we got in there after 10 o'clock at night, and I knew like
I did the bus journey with Greyhound back in the 90s, and I was coming back, and I called my buddy.
Sorry, Brent. I was going to ask Brent if he had a sleeper on the train.
I did. I actually got a rock bottom deal. I mean, it includes our food. I mean, and it would have cost that much in food and accommodation. So like we got, like I got it for $1,000. Just so everybody knows, and you can't, and the price of food. That's where they're going to get you though. They get you on your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner. I had it all inclusive. I had as much orange juice, apple juice, any kind of beverages, snacks. I mean, they had some healthy snacks. They had some stuff that, Sonia shouldn't be eating, but that's okay in moderation. She didn't even eat any of that anyway. You know what, Nathan? She was sitting there and she did not eat one. She did not even one. They had Oreo cookies. She didn't even touch one. Not even one. Wow. And they were there.
Sonia, congratulations. And Brent, it was Brent.
Yes.
Oh, you're forgiven, Sonia. But Brent, it was your previous experience in life that led you to being able to.
You should have seen blood sugars after that, though.
See, for people that are listening to the podcast right now or watching it live. See, when I was 8 years old, I went on that train trip. I remember just little bits of it because of the excitement, and I remember getting to Jasper, and there was a rock slide, and so the train had to stop, and then they had to bring another train in on the other side of the mountain, but they had to buses on some kind of shuttle bus of some kind, and that was fine. We had hours and hours to spend. So my poor mom, I mean, I can just imagine, well, what do I do with him, and I wanted to explore, right? And I kept looking at train. She goes, well, that train's not going anywhere. I want to go. She goes, well, we can't because we got to get on some shuttle bus. So anyway, got us on the shuttle bus. I still remember that. Anyway, fast forward. I don't remember a lot of after that. I remember got to another train, and the train was just moving barely slowly. Like and I guess they had pulled up, and then they're like, guys reaching down, come on. And I'm going, I can't. And the train wasn't going to go without me. And I remember, I go, your legs are not tall enough, Brent. I go, I'm short. I'm too short. And he reached down, come on. He pulled me right up like that. And so, how fast this train is going. So fast forward to our current journey that we went on. I said to the conductor, how fast are we going? Well, you got the app. You can track it. What? You can track it. 131 kilometers an hour, Brent.
Wow.
Oh my God. I said, can it go any faster? He goes, well, it's rocking pretty good right now. We made up good time. We're actually 2 hours and 23 minutes ahead of time. What? But we were like 3 hours behind. Yeah, I know. We made up time. I'm like, oh my gosh. So yeah, it was good experience. Would I do it again? Absolutely.
Imagine if
that's how much that trip had meant, and I wanted to make sure that that was expressed, because Brent knows I know this, but it was very much a needed well-being.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was like the accommodation that I had. I would have been happy just having coach seating. Like Sonia and I, we were talked about it. Yeah, like the seats are so comfortable. Like we didn't have that, but we experienced that on part of our journey in the U.S. And it was great. Like the seats actually, I didn't realize, but they went right back, and you got a footrest go up, and it's like you're on a recliner, and they got your plug-ins right beside you. You got a table that comes out. You can go and help yourself at the but in the cafe car. Now you have access to the dining room if it's available. They're going to get you on that dining room though. They're going to food, lunch, and dinner. Food, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I mean, I asked on Via Rail on average how much, and I asked them on Amtrak how much. $20 for breakfast, $25 for lunch, $45 for dinner.
Oh wow!
Plus gratuity.
Wow.
Now I didn't know this. But you're supposed to tip the waiter. You're supposed to tip them and your car attendant after. And they make your bed. They make it like a bunk bed. It's so cool. And I like a little kid, bunk bed. Yay! Up to top there. But
anyway, on that note of well-being, that note of train of well-being, can you end the show, Neil? Just ask me.
Can you end the show, Neil?
I think I can.
Well,
yeah.
I'm really glad that were able to have this experience. Brent, you and Sonia. I mean, this is what we're talking about with disability is, people are saying that we shouldn't have the right to have experiences.
Yeah.
And these experiences, these memories are going to last you a lifetime.
Oh, absolutely, MJ.
Right. And saying that, we don't deserve to have that. There's something seriously wrong with people's thinking to think that way, in my opinion. At least my opinion, could be yours. But I just think that everyone should have the right to have an experience. Go on a cruise ship, go on a plane for the first time, go on a train, go on an adventure. At least once in their life to have something amazing.
And that's one thing I learned from, they call them conductors. And I thought, they're the ones that, they're the ones who drive the train. No, those are the engineers. The conductors are the ones who are in charge of each cart on the train. And so if you're in coach seating, they're in charge of coach seating, and they keep a very strict mandate of policies that you have to follow on the train. If you're in a sleeper accommodation, if you can get a good deal, here's a helpful hint, everyone. You get it off season, off peak. That's when it's the cheapest. And also you need to look at how full does it fill up. It's like the old Greyhound days, right? The more it fills up, the more expensive it gets. So if you plan ahead, you can actually get a really good deal. And that's what we did. We planned.
Same thing with cruise lines too. They have off peak.
And then Sonia got sick, right? It was a day before, and she was sicker than sick, but she got through it, and we went on it, and she didn't want to cancel it because she realized that how much energy was put into the planning. And Neil knows about the story, and I mean Birdie does. I mean, and it was a nail biter because it was pending to be canceled. Like the whole thing was pending, like the night before to be canceled. And like the accommodation, everything, like the train, like you only had up to 24 hours.
I remember you calling me the day before.
Yeah.
You called me the day before.
And I looked into the train. I looked into and the one is that the policy states, unless there's under certain circumstance and a major emergency count, they'll make an exception. And
However,
I thought,
But Sonia and Brent getting to go to Florida, was so important for Sonia's health because of her health concerns. So there were so many reasons that this, it was needed. Like it was nothing but glad to hear that you had ability to plan for something that was so needed for Sonia's health.
It was, and I mean, some of the footage mean, Neil put a lot of that major, good, awesome footage. I mean, I can't thank you so much, Neil, for the footage that you put in. There was like
so much shitload of footage too.
Yeah, and there was like so much more that could have went in, and but you got the best of the best of all the footage. I mean, and to be honest, to everybody, the time went by so fast. I couldn't believe it. I'm thinking, okay, so this time yesterday we saw Dan and we saw Birdie and if you want to hang out, man, I mean, just give me a call, wherever. I'll be around or wherever. And I it's like Sonia is like, we want to go here. And I looked at the time and I'm thinking, oh, okay. And oh God, we still got to do
how many days did you have in Toronto?
Oh, we only had 2 days maximum. And because we want to stay longer. But the thing is, I had the itinerary set so that it was based on the price of the train travel and everything. So we synchronized it, and it was like it all worked out well. It was almost like a puzzle, putting it all together and how I made the itinerary. And
I need someone to help me with that. I can
help you with that, Ellen. I'm good at always itinerary planning, and I always did it for in any vacation or travel that I've done. I enjoy doing that because it's like getting a puzzle and putting it together. Would I do it again? Absolutely. Would we do things differently? Oh yeah, like I do coach seating. Way cheaper. More bang for the buck. You can actually stay longer, and you can still have fun. You can walk around. You can go and talk to people.
You can take a different train in a day after and still be on the same package, right?
No, Via Rail only travels 2 days a week.
Okay.
Mondays and Fridays out of Vancouver, and Wednesdays and Sundays out of Toronto.
Right.
Wednesdays and Sundays out of Toronto to Vancouver, and Mondays and Fridays out of Vancouver. Leaves at 3 o'clock.
I definitely want to do it. I just don't know where I'm going to find $1,000. I have to see if my passport funding would cover it next year.
Actually, it's less than 1,000 for you, but yeah, I mean, I guess with probably like some of the stuff.
But then I'd have to have someone go with me because I get very
we'll come
disoriented.
With you. We'll come out there and we'll bring you back, and then they'll give us an excuse to go back. And we'll take Neil with us too, because they go. Actually, just so you know, Neil, the accessibility part.
Neil only gets to go with half a wheelchair.
Yeah, I know.
I see people in the,
I'll bring my half a wheelchair. Yeah.
In the coach area, they have a whole area. It says sign right in there for people with disabilities, so like right on there, this area. Yeah, and it's like, wow. It's
some of those cool. Small corridors, though, they look
like
so
you
small.
can fit down there.
Yeah.
No,
I have to get my passport because I can't go in the States without it right now. I have to literally. Right. It's $150 for 10 years.
Yeah,
for 5 years or something.
10-year one. Yeah, yeah, 150. Yeah, that's what we got before. It was $150. And,
it's so confusing. I don't know where in Kingston to get my passport done now. So
I'm not
sure. I want to get my pictures done, but
it's interesting. I know before we end the segment, it's a little bit extended segment today, but I know there was a couple of people that had asked me to explain to them what it was like going from Toronto to New York, though. So when you're on the one train and it's run by so technically. I didn't know this either. Amtrak told me we actually own the train. Okay, I said okay, and I found this out from Via Rail. They told me. They said so. Amtrak owns the train. I said okay. They run it out of Toronto. But Via Rail employees run the train from Toronto to Niagara Falls, and when it gets to Niagara Falls, Ontario, the employees, the Via Rail employees. They get off, they let passengers off, boarding passengers on, and once you're on, that's it. Like you can't change your mind. You're now on, and so they change employees. Employees. The Via Rail employees get off. They take every single thing to do with Via Rail on that train off, including their cafe car. They shut it down. They make the announcement. So we're going to be coming into Niagara Falls, Ontario. We're actually shutting soon before they make an announcement. We're going to be closing the cafe car, so here's your last chance to get something. It gives them time to get all their supplies off the train when they get to Niagara Falls. The U.S. Amtrak employees get on the train. They go across the bridge over to Niagara Falls, USA. It then stops at the border. It stops at the border at Niagara Falls, USA. And then we all get off the train. We take the conductor actually was kind of humorous. So He says, so we're welcome aboard. He says, everyone got on Niagara Falls. So take all your kids. If you don't want your kids, leave them here, and customs and immigration will come and get them for you if you don't want to take them with you. And I thought that was kind of humorous. But anyway, we got off. So everyone has to get off the train. You go through customs, U.S. customs, immigration. Very straightforward. Where are you going? Whatever. That's it. Then you go down, and they have a little doggy that comes by and sniffs around down the little walkway area, and the dog's jumping around. Oh, wow. How old is your dog? Oh, 3. Oh, everyone's like, oh, yeah, don't touch my dog. Don't touch the dog. And the dog's going around. This one lady's in front of us. Oh, what's going on? Oh, yeah, okay, it's fine. Just keep going. Yeah, they're going to talk to you down there. Some lady with some stuff in her bag. I don't know. Yeah, I guess she didn't realize she's not allowed to bring that across, but she found out. It was all good. And
every time I think of Canadian trains, I still think of that TV show Due South with the Mounties and Leslie Nielsen on the train during the hijacking.
Yeah, I love that show. So we got down
on Netflix, I think.
Yeah. We got down there, and I was still more intrigued. Well, what this lady's bag? I'm thinking, oh no. And what it was is that there was nothing in her bag. But the dog picked up on it because she had her kids that had lunch stuff that was in her bag, and that she had taken on a trip. But they had sandwiches and stuff, and they had gone on a picnic. But anyway, the dog picked up on a scent that was in the bag, so they took everything out of her bag apparently, and oh, nothing here. Okay. So she was all worried too. What did I do? And anyway, we got down, and so then we had to wait. We had to sit in the waiting room, wait for the instructions to get back on the train. And then off we went. It was like a almost 13-hour trip.
It looked like a different train.
And it was like a different train altogether, but it wasn't the same train. And a different train number.
Different coffee.
And different coffee. They put all the Amtrak stuff on there, different coffee.
Oh, wow.
Different screen.
So first thing we got on was, I want to get a cup of coffee. Sonia goes, coffee. I said, okay, fine. So we go there. Where are the creamers? And they goes, can I help you? And I go, yeah, take a couple cups of coffee. Where are the creamers? It's right there, sir. No, there was creamers in there earlier. There were little cremos. Huh. He goes, no, we don't. This is International Delight. International Delight? No, we don't have creamers. What do you mean? Sonia goes, well, they were there earlier. All those must have been from Via Rail. They have their own supply. We have our supply. What? Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. That's why the transformation, right? And it's just like, oh. So, yeah, it was a good experience. And, I mean, we got in there just 20 minutes late. It wasn't that bad. And as soon as we got through there, and that's the part I sent to Neil, was the picture. We opened up the door, and all these big buildings, all the holograms on these buildings, and I was just, my jaw dropped because I just speechless. I'm like wow, which way do we go? But I was just mesmerized with these buildings.
Did you find the cost of the trip was more expensive U.S. bound, or was it more? Did you find a different? If you were spending, say, $1,000 on food and extras that went over top, was it more expensive when you were on the U.S. side than on the
actually, even with the exchange rate, it actually almost equaled out to the same thing with our dollar the way it is, because the cost of things were actually a little bit cheaper, so it actually ended up either being the same or just under. In some items, it was actually still under, so we actually got more value for our dollar. And I was joking around with some of the U.S. Travelers there, and they travel back and forth all the time through Canada and for business-wise or just for pleasure. And they said the same thing, you could actually got more value for your dollar. It was pretty close to our Canadian dollar, but at the end of the day.
I was kind of envious of that Chicago pizza. I tried to order Chicago pizza at our local pizza place. No bueno. And I was like, I don't know what this is, but.
Say, ship it up to me, please. Ship it up. We ordered that one. Did you see that picture? The big pizza?
Yeah.
It was
we don't get that in Canada.
3 pieces of pizza on one. I was just trying to hold on to this.
Have you ever come across a deep dish pizza that actually feels like it was a deep dish pizza? Because I haven't. I've tried Pizza Hut. I've tried Papa John's. I've tried a whole bunch. And I don't know whether it's a Canadian thing, but I don't think we have.
Nobody makes Chicago style pizza. Yeah.
Well, we did order Domino's. We were in Florida, and I. No,
it's like the worst pizza on earth.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't do it. It was. I like Domino's here. I don't know what it is. We literally had to get it. We threw it in the garbage into the receptacle. I felt sorry for the housekeeper.
Cardboard box. That's good.
That's what it is. The whole box.
So I guess if Domino's offered to sponsor this ad,
that would have been throwing Domino's under the bus, but I guess that's not gonna work too well. But we made. Hey, we live and learn though. But
it made up for when we came back.
It made up for when we came back. But I mean, we were
very. Orlando, Florida is where you went to, right?
It was, and I mean, we found it pretty quick how the transit worked. I mean, we had to time it all up. It was like every hour bus service. However, we had 3 buses to choose from, so it ended averaging out. The timing was good. Going up the hill from where we were, it's kind of like a little kind of incline up, and yeah, you sure got your walking in. That's for sure. Get exercise in. To go up to, like, say, I don't know, Walmart or Target, Applebee's, Ross store, Sonia's favorite store, Ross store. So we actually just took a bus up, and Buster got to know who we were. And he's like, yeah, I'll let you off there. And he goes, I'm not supposed to do this, but I'll let you off at the intersection. Just be careful. I go, oh, okay, because it stops us just back there a little bit. Oh, okay, so he let us off, and Applebee's was our go-to place. More value for the dollar. I mean, they had a special on for $4.99. $4.99 for a burger. And the thing was freaking.
And how long were you in Florida for?
We were there for 4 days.
4 days. See, I'd have to get my aunt to come up and hang with me because she lives in Florida.
I'd like to take you on a journey with us, Alan, and yeah, it would be fun. I think you'd have a blast.
Lots of pictures.
Lots of pictures to take. I mean, but you live and learn though on how you do the travel. Like there's things that we took a lot of snacks with us, overloaded, way too much snacks. So we're carrying another carry bag with us, which they train. So they allow you the stuff.
They have a camera. They have a suitcase that's also a backpack, and you can roll it. It's a camera bag, and they sell them on Amazon and this. Different camera companies that make it. I forget which one is the best of them, but they carry about a 30-liter bag. Is generally what they are, but they're nice because you can drop the handle and put it on like a backpack or roll it like a suitcase.
Well, you're allowed you're allowed 2 carry-ons. You're allowed 2 personal
that'd
items.
Be perfect. One bag for my clothes and one bag for my camera gear.
Become homeless, so you can travel everywhere.
But I mean, if really good amount of stuff you can carry on. But my advice is that if you're doing coach seating, you don't want to carry on. Even though they allow you excess stuff to carry on, you don't want to be bombarding yourself with too much stuff to carry on, because otherwise now you get to lug it around places, right?
So I've got a bag that. I've got a 20-liter bag that carries 3 lenses in the body, so as long as
I say
camera body. Okay.
One little suitcase and a backpack, and you're good. You're good to
go.
Mob
carry that in one bag.
Mob photographer there.
I say just one carry bag with some snacks on it, a backpack, and a little suitcase, and you're good. And make sure you bring wear a sweater because it gets chilly on there, air conditioning, or a jacket. Or maybe
that's why thermal zip-ups are a good go-to.
Or a hood, like you wear a hood just over there and a toque.
I got a skull beanie toque.
Yeah, there you are.
Dan is asking, does Via have good blueberry pie?
Blueberry pie. Actually, they didn't have that, but they had different desserts that would automatically offer to you. And it was included in that. Like they would give you on your entree, you get your main course, appetizer, and then you get your dessert, and you get a beverage, non-alcoholic beverage on Via Rail. You get non-alcoholic beverages with your meal.
You're allowed to bring your own beverages on the train with you.
Yeah, non-alcohol. I mean, as long as they're non-alcoholic.
Oh yeah, well, for example, I can't drink pop, so I would be.
Right. Yeah,
I'd be sporting a big jug of what do you call it?
Gatorade?
Ocean Spray, Diet Cranberry, or whatever it is.
Yeah. Actually, I encourage people to do that. Definitely, you bring on anything you want to eat, like trail mix, or granola bars, like something that's going to have some substantial fiber for you. Beverages.
Cheesecake from the local grocery store.
Yeah, go to Dollarama. It's the cheapest, right? I mean, that's what we did. But of course, Sonia kept warning me, no, we don't need all that. Yes, we do. Yeah. And next thing you know, I got this heavy bag, and I'm carrying it on with me.
We fed it on the train. We didn't need.
But I thought, well, maybe further down the trip.
Darn, baby.
I mean, on Amtrak, yeah, we needed it more than Via Rail, because on Via Rail we had it all included. Right, so I didn't really need all this excess stuff, and every time I turn around, they had bottled water free, like it's all included, or your snacks, and they had like oranges, apples, bananas on there.
Experience in the past, Brent. Your experience in the past was that as a backup, when you haven't done something before, it was definitely needed. And I know that there were times on the US side where it kicked you in the butt as well, because it's different, but you don't know, until you've done it once.
Yeah, and that way, from the experience of, and that's what they were telling me on the Amtrak. When the attendant says, "You don't know," I said, "We packed way too much." How do you know though? You didn't. And the guy says, "You didn't know how much to take with you, and you thought that was the best way." And that is a good way of thinking, because it cuts down your cost. Because we'll nail you.
You don't know until you know. That's what I always say.
I mean, what was it? How much for a bottle of water, Sonia, on Amtrak? It's like $2.50 or $2.75 for a bottle of water. I mean, that's what I mean. Like, so
but they have refills.
They got refills. Everyone, they don't tell you that. They got their own little area of water, and they fill up. And they go to their refilling stations when the train stops. They'll fuel up and do a crew change. River. They put more water in. I've seen that, and they fill it all up.
I always wanted to work on one of those trains. Like, I thought, you know what? My kid's an adult now. It's just me. Like, it wouldn't be a problem for me if I had to work a 16-hour, as a porter on a train or something.
My dad worked on it when I was a kid, and so my mom got rail passes for us, and we actually saw, I actually saw the area that we walked through, because we had access to it, because when you have any kind of sleeper accommodation, they have different classes on there, and I didn't know it. It's confusing. But I got the sleeper plus accommodation, but the person who booked it on the phone at first, and I had to go down there in person because they wanted to see my ID for the disability pass, right? They needed to see that and then document that in there, which is fine. And so that's why we had to go away to Vancouver to do that. And she says, "Oh no." I go, "Yeah, unfortunately." Anyway, I'm glad we did, because the person had messed up had booked it. But how it is that you got two different areas. Like, so you're sitting right there, Patrick. So just think, right beside you, there's a chair right beside you. Okay. So, or no, I mean, like, say right in front of you. So right there, you're sitting there, and there's a chair in front of you. Now that's one section. Now across the aisle, it's like a plane. And now across the aisle, they've got now two seats again. So how they booked it was they booked one seat where you're sitting, and now across the aisle, they booked me on the other seat on the other side. And so technically somebody else, because how it works is that first come, first serve. So whoever needs another seat, they're going to now book another seat with some stranger in front of me, another stranger in front of Sonia. And I said on the phone, well, yeah, but she's my attendant. Right. Well, that unfortunately, but we're all booked up, so that's what we have. But what he was, it was a miscommunication. What he wasn't understanding is like, yeah, like this is the pass. The person has to be like in the same quarter with you, even though like you have a bunk bed. I mean, I'm up above, she's down there, and so but it's already booked up. Well, technically it wasn't. It's how the computer was reading it to him. So I got there in person. And the lady goes, "Oh, I see what happened. Oh, no problem. We'll fix this right here, and then regenerate it. It's all done." But my gosh, I mean, and we witnessed that when we were actually on there, because they have these other people. There was a lady traveling from Vancouver to Montreal, and the other lady was traveling to Saskatoon. I thought they were friends. Hey, how's it going? Go. And her English was really good French, but the other one, so your friend, where happy, I guess, traveling across country. Oh no, she's getting off. No, she's getting off in Saskatoon. What? Oh, I thought they were traveling together. No, that's what I mean. So when it's booked, you have to make sure if you got two friends traveling or whatever, say I went out there and I picked you up there, Patrick, and said, hey, yeah, we're going to travel across. We got to make sure we get that ticket booked in the same area, like 1A, 1B, 1A, 1B, not 2A, 1A or 2B or 2A, because that's where it gets confusing. And I didn't know the terminology. I mean, how am I supposed to know? And then they got cabins for 1, cabins for 2. Now the price goes up, and yeah. And they're nothing special, to be honest. They're nothing special. We saw them, and Neil saw it too. The footage.
Yeah.
It's like, what? There's lights down there.
Fancy lights. Yeah.
And then you got this little bar. After that, you got this little bar that I guess they come to. And then after that, you're
not really losing a lot by not getting a cabin then.
My advice, don't do it. It's not worth it. You're getting all the same food, getting all the same treatment.
Yeah.
Right.
We had the observation car and we sat there and then all of a sudden they come by and there's like champagne.
All I know is I would need an aisle seat.
Well, I heard that.
Ask me.
Brent, when you got home, one of your first reactions to me was, "Oh my goodness, this showed us the possibilities of what can be, and the different experiences that you gain by being out as well."
Yeah. One thing that stood out is,
but Brent.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a good cliffhanger to leave it on.
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
I think we should punch out. Ask me again. Ask me again.
Ask me again.
Can you end the show, Neil?
Ask me again about the champagne part, and then we'll continue on where we left off on that one. Okay. Anyway, thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed today's segment regarding the train journey, that experience that we had. If you want to be part of it, check out the train travel on your best routes that you find best suited for you, and tune into the show. Greatly appreciate all the feedback that I'm getting about the train trips, even from the people that I've run against on our journey. Awesome comments. And also, if you want to be a sponsor or you enjoy the show, like, click, subscribe, do what you need to do.
Michael Bublé, we're looking at you.
There you go, Michael. Maybe I'll meet Michael on a trip somewhere.
And anyway, ask me again, Brent.
Ask me again. Should we end the show today?
I think I can. I think I can.
Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Cheers.